The 2025 NFL trade deadline is less than 2 weeks away, and your Buffalo Bills are really involved in all the buzz and scuttlebutt coming from NFL insiders here as some names that could be on the trade block. Let's jump right in to Jonathan Jones at CBS Sports and see what he had to say. He said an interesting team to watch is Buffalo. The Bills have been up and down the last few weeks, but GM Brandon Beane has made deals in each of the past 2 offseasons. He sent out for Russell Douglas in 2023 and got Amari Cooper last fall. Last one didn't really work out so well, but some believe he could go after a receiver again. That is the big takeaway we got to take from Jonathan Jones, a guy who I think is a little bit underrated when it comes to how tapped in he is with what's going on in the NFL. The Bills are looking for a wide receiver, and he's not the only person that has been saying that. There's been other NFL insiders that have said that the Bills are going to be calling on different wide receivers around the league. The Athletic labeled the Bills as buyers, and they had even more to say about what Buffalo could be looking for at the trade deadline. That's why you subscribe to the channel. If the Athletic you got to pay for, $72 a year is like their cheapest option. ESPN Plus, who we're taking more info from as far as the NFL trade circles go, that's $120 a year. Why pay for those when you're going to get all that information at the Bills Breakdown right here for free, 100% free to subscribe? So go down below, hit that sub button, turn your notifications on as well so you never miss a moment around your Buffalo Bills, and so you join us on our watch parties every single Bills game day. Tim Graham of The Athletic said this on the Bills. He said, you hear about quarterbacks throwing a receiver open. Saints quarterback Spencer Rattler on Sunday might have thrown Chris Olave onto another roster. The Bills gladly would find a locker stall for him. Raiders receiver Jakobi Meyers would be another popular addition. General manager Brandon Beane is a wheeler dealer, acquiring 5-time Pro Bowler wide receiver Amari Cooper last year under similar pressure to provide Josh Allen a difference-making boundary target. Separation abilities have returned as a substantial concern. Buffalo also needs secondary help, most glaringly at safety, where Taylor Rapp and Cole Bishop have disappointed in multiple ways. This year, however, Beane is backed up hard against the salary cap. Buffalo is about $2.8 million below, with only Miami's situation tighter. Only one team has a worse situation financially right now, the Buffalo Bills, and guess what? That team is going to be selling instead of buying, like Buffalo needs to do. Jeremy Fowler did list the top 25 trade candidates, and I sifted through them all. I looked through them all and picked out the few that I think fit Buffalo. We're going to talk about that on today's show here. We're going to start with the wide receiver position here, and like Tim Graham alluded to, like a couple other people alluded to, Chris Olave is at least somewhat on the trade block here as the New Orleans Saints are 1-6. They don't historically go after fire sales when the team's in shambles, but they desperately need some draft capital here as they're in some pretty dire straits financially as well. So Chris Olave on the trade block here, a playmaking wide receiver, Pro Bowl talent, and can really do a lot on the football field here. He does have a concussion history, though. Also, on the New Orleans Saints, they have another guy on the trade block, I would say. Not on Jeremy Fowler's list of 25, but he did mention him in his article. We'll get to that in a second. So Olave and Rashid Shaheed here are on the block, but we did hear conflicting reports over the weekend from Diana Rossini, where she said that the Saints and Olave are working on, or maybe trying to work on, a contract extension here. He plays on the 5th-year option next season of $15 million, still on a very cheap rookie deal this year, so would be pretty easy to acquire for the Buffalo Bills. Now, as far as the chances of Olave being traded at this point, Fowler only put that percentage point at about 20%. Now, for scale, the higher end ones were around 50%. Like, there was only a few around there, and then there was some as low as 10% as well. So on the lower side here, but definitely a possibility that Olave gets dealt. Now, if he doesn't, that's where Fowler mentioned Rashid Shaheed. If the Saints want to stand pat and really work towards that contract extension with Chris Olave, Rashid Shaheed could be the name that gets moved on next. And I think I predicted in my last Bills Trade Rumors video that the Bills would go out there and trade for Rashid Shaheed if they go make a deal for a wide receiver. With his field stretching ability, with the way he can take the top off of the defense, and honestly underrated with the ball in his hands as well. That's a name that I'm looking for here to make a difference for Buffalo. And Jordan Schultz is saying the teams are calling. He said the 2 wide receivers in New Orleans, Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, are being monitored by wide receiver needy teams. If you don't think the Buffalo Bills fall in that bucket of wide receiver needy teams, then you got another thing coming. Olave, Rashid Shaheed, let's make some phone calls on him, Brandon Beane. Let's move on to Jakobi Meyers here, who has been on the trade rumor circle basically the entire season, dating back to training camp basically, where he originally requested a trade from the Las Vegas Raiders. He could see this shitstorm coming in from a mile away, and it's gotten no better in Las Vegas at this point. Over the weekend, from Rossini, the Raiders side of things, she said that the Raiders are, quote, open to moving Jakobi Meyers here. Now, What does that mean? They're open to moving him? Sure. They're probably open to moving him for the right price. What's that price going to be? If it's not something above a fourth-round pick, who knows? They may end up wanting to keep him. But Jakobi Meyers himself, he's kind of standing pat on his trade kind of mentality at this point. He was talking to Ryan McFadden over the weekend, and he said that, oh, for sure, I still want to be traded. But I'm a professional at the end of the day. I'm just trying to play good football. Well, the Raiders aren't playing good football, and he continues to be fed up. He did say that he's got no control as to whether or not it happens. He has no say in that. He's just got a job to do as a football player, but he definitely still wants to be traded. And his percentage is a little bit higher, according to Jeremy Fowler here, at about 25% that Jakobi Meyers ends up getting dealt. So, with that being said, we talked about 3 wide receivers so far. The 3 likeliest, I would say, to end up getting dealt at this trade deadline cycle. Pick one to trade for to Buffalo. If it's Chris Olave, type 12. If it's Rashid Shaheed, type 22 down in the comment section. If it's Jakobi Meyers, you want to go out west to grab a guy back to the Northeast, we can type it number 16 down in the comment section. Sound off. What do the Bills fans want? Last wide receiver on the trade market here, Jaylen Waddle. And the reason I didn't include him in the beginning and put him in that question there is really because I don't believe Jaylen Waddle is being traded at this point. The Miami Dolphins, according to multiple reports, have all signaled that they're not taking any real, motion or effort into trading Jaylen Waddle. Yes, they did take a couple of calls from teams who made some, dialed the phone up, but all the reports we've seen coming out is that Miami has no plans. Ian Rappaport said it over the weekend. They have no plans to trade Jaylen Waddle here. And, Fowler did decide to put him as number 1 or number 2 on his list of candidates, but he only put the trade chances for him at about 10%. And if you think about the Bills in the same division as Miami, those chances are probably even lower. Coming up next on today's show, we're going to talk about some trade rumors and some players that could impact the Buffalo Bills on the defensive side of the football. We went through wide receiver, but we got to talk about the secondary because that's in shambles too. That around the corner. First, I got to tell you guys about our sponsor. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You and I make decisions every single day, but on Prize Picks, being right can get you paid. It can get you up to 2,000 times your money this football season with the best daily fantasy sports app in the game. All you guys got to do is pick 2 to 6 players and just pick more or less on their projected stats. Now, a ton of apps go out there and do that, but Prize Picks is the best because of the features that they offer. It's the only daily fantasy sports app that offers stacks. So if you want to take multiple stat projections like Josh Allen pass yards, Josh Allen rush yards, Josh Allen touchdowns, all in the same Prize Picks lineup, you can do that. Yeah, the only place to do it. My lineup for Week 8 football action between Buffalo and Carolina, I got Dalton Kincaid more than 3.5 receptions. He's got to get back out there on the field and with a high snap count as well. James Cook more than 14.5 for longest rush. I think he gets back in a little bit of a groove this week. And then Tedero McMillan, their star rookie wide receiver. I got more than 55.5 receiving yards because we're going to talk about it. The Bills secondary is pretty underwhelming. You can tell my picks or fade them. Just do it at Prize Picks. Download the app today and use the promo code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS for $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks. It's good to be right. Look, folks, there's no secret. Buffalo's defense has been underwhelming this season, and Buffalo's secondary is struggling in a lot of different areas. Covering wide receivers. Teams get a lot of separation against Buffalo's DBs. What about tackling? We heard, Tim Graham talk about the Bills safeties earlier. Taylor-Britt and Cole Bishop have some of the highest missed tackle rates in all of football at this point. I think the Bills might be looking at the defense and saying, we got to make some sort of upgrade here. They do have an upgrade in Max Harrison coming at the cornerback spot, but how much responsibility is he going to get? As there's a couple of cornerbacks on the trade block at this point that Buffalo might want to look at if Harrison isn't given the green light. Speaking of green, what about Woolen out there in Seattle, who is looked at by Jeremy Fowler as one of the strongest trade candidates of the cycle? He said that Seattle's been trying to move him for a while. He's had his stellar rookie season back in 2022, but's kind of steadily declined in his career and production since then. Still a 6'4", 4'3" speed athlete, and I think he could do wonders with some new scenery here. Fowler has his trade chances at about 50%. I've seen Tariq Woolen make a ton of plays on the football, and the Bills' corners aren't doing that at this point. It's probably worth making a call. It's going to be a day 3 pick for Tariq Woolen. Alontae Taylor is another name that's out there on the trade block. But again, like I mentioned, the New Orleans Saints don't historically go for fire sales when the team is burning. But Alontae Taylor got good size at 6'1", 199, and he makes plays on the football as well. Already 3 PBUs this season. A little bit less, I say a lot less actually, of a chance that he ends up getting dealt than Tariq Woolen. Fowler has his chances at around 25, but absolutely a boundary corner that I would make a call on if the Saints are shopping everybody. Michael Carter of the New York Jets. His percentage point is a little bit higher at 45%, probably because the Jets are interested in a fire sale as they're 0-7. They're the worst team in football, could be the worst team over the last couple of seasons in the National Football League. But Michael Carter, I've seen him make plays. He had a really good start to his career on the Jets. When that defense was actually being coached up well, and when they were kind of dialed in a little bit, him alongside Sauce Gardner, he was pretty damn good. So I would think about making a play on Michael Carter here, but I don't know if I necessarily am dying to go out there and trade for any Jets players. And the same thing can be said about the Tennessee Titans as well, who are really pretty poor out there. Roger McCreary is on the trade block. We've talked about him in previous videos, but the reason that I don't think the Bills would go out there and trade for him is because, well, he is a nickel cornerback. Taron Johnson's healthy. Taron Johnson's productive. Taron Johnson's one of the better run defenders on the Buffalo Bills as it stands at the second and third level right now. So they're not looking to replace him. McCreary, his percentage point about 35%, but I don't think Buffalo's going to be involved in the calls over there. Cam Taylor-Britt, though, I think that they absolutely would go out there and make a call with Cincinnati here. Not so sure how much they want to get rid of him because, their secondary isn't the most deep in the NFL either. It's, looked at as one of the worst already. But Cam Taylor-Britt is a player who we've seen have real good production throughout his NFL career so far. Already has 2 PBUs this season. He's a solid tackler, and I think he needs to change of scenery as well away from Cincinnati. Can stay in the cold weather in the Midwest Northeast region and stop in Buffalo if the Bills want to make a call on him. I would be all for it. And then Kyle Duggar at safety. I'd be all for this as well, but Kyle Duggar is going to cost $10 million to acquire, and the Bills have to restructure and extend and really move around a ton of money for a safety, and I don't think they're willing to do that, even with the positions the safety room is in at this point. They would probably rather go in the direction of giving more run to Jordan Hancock and elevating Jordan Poyer and doing all that stuff. I think that's disastrous, but the price tag on Kyle Duggar is probably too high. Fowler has his trade chances at about 25%. With that being said, we've gone through a ton of guys the Bills could trade for here. You name a player. Could be one of the guys that we just named. Could be a player that we have not talked about on today's show. But go down to the comment section and name a player. It does not matter the position that the Buffalo Bills should trade for. Some more safety names here that Ryan Talbot mentioned in his trade targets article. Jason Pinnock of the San Francisco 49ers. He's kind of buried in the depth chart here, and he started a lot of games in his NFL career. Could be worth taking a look at. Ashton Davis, young talent in Miami. Miami needs to be doing a fire sale here, so we could look at that name as well. And then Jeremy Chin of the Raiders, if they're down to get selling in and around the trade deadline, I'd be very, very willing to go out there and make a play for Jeremy Chin. They gave him a good bit of money this offseason, though. That could be a little bit too expensive for Buffalo's taste. That will do it for today's show. Give me a follow over on Twitter. We'll be keeping you tabs on all the latest trade rumors going around your Buffalo Bills, and that's why you subscribe to the channel as well. We're pulling information from The Athletic. We're pulling information from ESPN+. We're pulling information from all these paid services. All this information is 100% free here at the Bills Breakdown. Subscribe, turn your noties on. We'll see you guys in the next video. And as always, let's go, Buffalo.